And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Going Nuclear, full blown coverage of the land. I am Ethan Greenberg, and joining me is my co host, Mike Rasinski, and our guest here this evening uh, from Kansas, John Flint. And John, you've got a special relationship with one of the people on this panel here. It's not me, so it must be Mike, right?
Love hate relationship with Michael. No, Mike's
As
one of
long
my three.
with sports, right?
So,
Just with sports.
Mike,
Well, John, it's a pleasure having you on. Really appreciate you joining us here this evening. John, a little bit of his resume here. And actually, Mike, I'm going to let you give us some of John's resume and introduce him to our viewing audience.
Yeah. So John Flint is a local legend in both Colorado and in Kansas. We wanted to have him on to especially talk some football with us because not only was he a standout high school football player, but also a standout college player. So high school at Skyline High in Colorado, then moved on and played at McPherson College. Pretty much, he's at every position, every defensive position that they had. And following his storied college career, went on to coaching at the high school level in Kansas, and was eventually ended up being the head coach at Central High School, where his team went 12-0 and won the state championship in 1987. So definitely a lot of experience coming from this fine man.
Yeah, definitely. We love to see that, John. As we talked in the opener before we started, you're going to be able to offer some insights here to some of our viewers from Mike and I as the casual football fans. As we bleed brown and orange, not exactly the orange crush that you bleed for the Broncos, but that's okay. We'll forgive you this time.
I appreciate.
I would like to. So, I guess that is one thing I forgot to mention in the intro is that John is a Broncos fan. And so I think that's where a lot of the love-hate relationship comes from. But the one thing I also forgot to mention is that we like to do friendly bets for the Broncos games. And although I haven't been fortunate in the majority of our meetings, I did, even though the Browns lost, I think it must have been a decade ago when they played, they covered the point spread. So I was able to get John. He held up his end of the deal to wear a Browns necktie to work when he was superintendent of the school district.
Oh, wow.
Not only work, I had to wear it to a board meeting, and my board president made sure to get it on the minutes why I was wearing a Browns tie to that meeting.
It'll live on forever now.
Yeah, in
infamy. That is painful, John. So John, you grew up in Colorado, as Mike said. Which part? What exact part of Colorado did you grow up in? Where were you in relation to Denver itself?
Yeah, we're northern Colorado, north of Denver, right on the foothills, right on the edge of Gus country. Woke up every morning to Long Speak and Meeker. So a very great place to grow up and call home.
Oh, fantastic. So, also, Mike has told me your wife, you live in Kansas now. You worked in Kansas, high school football coach, et cetera, et cetera. Your wife is a Kansas City Royals fan, so that creates some interesting dynamics there. Mike and I being Guardians fans. So Mike, your wife in baseball, you and Mike in football. This must be very friendly, a lot of friendly fire around the Thanksgiving dinner table.
Yeah, and my his daughter, my wife, is caught right in the middle of it, and I don't think I've tried to get her to switch allegiances, but I've failed. So John, you still got Nikki as a Broncos fan.
So John, as we were talking, and again, I'll kind of let Mike talk a little bit about the specifics here, but just we mentioned or said about football and whether it's a simple game, a complicated game. how much has really changed from your perspective in football from the days when you were playing and coaching? Um, Mike, I'm having trouble hearing John. Are you able to hear him?
No, I'm also not able to hear. I'm not sure if the internet connection maybe a little weak over there.
A little bit muted. Okay. Let's see if we can't get this corrected here. Not sure. Um, John, can you hear us? Ah, shucks. Let's see. Hopefully we can get this solved here. Did the Guardians do anything, Mike?
Yeah, as usual, I have the Gardos on the side screen here. Still 0-0, bottom of the second. Royals up to bat. One man on, one man out.
So we failed to score. Uh-oh, that's no good. Okay. All right, let's see. I'm gonna click on something here as we navigate this. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Let's try and figure out what we can do here to get this better for our guest. Um, John, if you can give us the hi sign, let us know if you can hear us. Well, Mike.
No, maybe we could try. Log. John, if we could just maybe have you log off and log back on. I wonder if that might help.
Yeah, if you need to take, if you are able to, if you want to mute yourself and might want to call, reach out to him momentarily, I can fill some time here. Got it. Whatever you think is best. So he has logged off. So let's hopefully get him back on here. What do you think about the Brown Stadium, the naming rights, Huntington Bank Field?
Yeah. So, as I understand it too, because there's all this talk about what the next stadium is going to be. Huntington Bank Field will follow them if they get a new stadium. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is my understanding. Okay, let's try and get John back on here. All right, see if maybe we can do with it. John, are you there?
John? Now.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay. John, so sorry for the technical difficulties.
That's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah, I think the question was, what have you noticed change kind of in the game since when you were coaching, high school back in the mid '80s to now, especially at the high school level? Have you seen the game evolve or change a lot?
Yeah. Mike, again, my first exposure to football was in '73. I know it's surprising to you, but we didn't wear leather helmets. But I think the biggest change, just the size of the longer. When I was playing, I was one of the kids at 180, and if you had 86, 80, if you had a kid 225, you pretty good sized kid. We were blessed to have one of our tackles, Big Al, probably came in at 50, good sized farm kid. But now you look at these rosters and the whole line's 250 and the backs are 10, 215. So I say the size of the kids is probably the biggest difference. And then just the complexity that has taken over high school football is surprising to me.
Okay, so with the size of the kids just, getting bigger, is that what do you think that is? Is that intentional, where these kids are trying to bulk up at an earlier age? Is it just, just kind of where society is right now, or do you have any theory on why these kids are getting, bigger?
I think it's something in the milk, Mike. I think that's what it is. I mean, I honestly think that we got people getting bulked up way too much.
So, yeah, John, I think we're having a hard time hearing you again. It's kind of breaking up and a little staticky.
Let's see. What do we have here? I've got Mike. I've got one idea here, but I'm not sure how to do it. I apologize. I can't think on my feet here right now. John, did you catch Mike's question about your theory on the increase in the size of these players, whether it is their training early on, bulking, supplements, etc.? Okay. Let's see. Mike, any ideas here, sir?
No, I think we're having a little trouble still hearing you, John. I'm not sure if maybe you're on Wi-Fi, maybe turn Wi-Fi off and just see if the cell signal will help. But yeah, we got a picture of you, John, but it's just the sound is not coming through for whatever reason.
Yes. Only idea I have is to try and get the audio from my cell phone through my mixer, but that would require like a call, and we could do it that way. But that's the only way I can do it.
That sounds very complicated.
Yes, it is very complicated. I'm getting into complicated territory, and I really want to get into this because I am so interested in what John has seen or experienced as a coach. Because as he said, the complexity of the game. I mean, you think about back in the day, do you remember watching the teams play the wing T? Or you simply went back into an I formation? I had never really heard of the pistol formation until, like, maybe about the past 10 years or so. I always knew shotgun, but I didn't necessarily know the pistol formation. So a lot really has changed. And even to that end, I mean, as we talk about the Cleveland Browns and what they're doing in their offense, we're going from Kevin Stefanski and a lot of play action and that sort of thing that was really well suited to a guy like Joe Flacco, to bringing in an offensive coordinator like Ken Dorsey, to run different formations and change the way they do things, with the ability to not necessarily be running the ball and be under center, but be more out of the shotgun, the pistol, etc. So it is definitely interesting to see how the game has evolved over the number of years here. And I think that, John, if you can hear us, please feel free to interject at any time if you are able. Um, you know, the one thing that Mike, you and I talked about is the training. And back in the day, it was commonplace not only for high schoolers, college players, NFL players, they'd have two-a-days. Now it's like, yeah, am I going to go to training camp? Nah, I think I'm going to sit out. I need a rest day. That's what it is. I worked really hard. I need a day of rest. Let me chill out over here. Let me be a Holden. Let me do, and it's crazy to me how these things have changed so much over time. Kind of an interesting note here. You saw that, talking about, speaking of people who haven't practiced, who the Browns are counting on, Jed Wills was back on the field today. And although Kevin Stefanski was kind of elusive in his responses to the press about his ability to play, and kind of made it, indecisive. They get Jed on the mic, and Mike's like, "No, I'm not going to start on Saturday. I'm just doing individual drills."
Yeah. At least he's coming back, which is good. I think is the good news. Um, yeah, I just want to try to throw it back to John real quick to see if the voice has come back on your end, John. Any chance you can um, see if it's coming through this time?
You know what really grinds my gears? ESPN.com never updates the score at the top of the screen. I'm like watching this.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. It's still not the bottom of the second or the top of the second. Let's fix this.
Yeah. Well, maybe Kansas internet is a lot like the Kansas City Royals right now. Just kind of on a just having a bad
Well, you
streak of
know
luck.
what? Okay, wait. John is there. I'm gonna try and get John back on. See if and I've got him. And if we need, maybe we can even we can also John, can you hear us?
Yeah. Still no luck, huh?
Oh darn. You know what? Mike, and this is just a question, a thought for you. Should we try to do this with John? Is for having these internet troubles? Should we maybe forego this for this evening and try to do this another time when we can get this working properly?
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Let me go off screen real quick. Can you monologue it for just a bit?
I think I can pull that off. I can pull it off. And you know what? I'm going to bring in Jacob while we're at it,
Perfect.
and we'll get going here. Okay, so I will let you go off screen, and I will take this over. And Jacob, thank you for joining us this evening. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great today.
Oh, that is fantastic. I am glad to see you changed your wardrobe here. And yes, Factory of Sadness. Yes, it was
Hey, John, you there?
And Mike, I can hear you on the mic, so I'm going to mute you. And we got you there. All right. So Jacob, yes, I see you're wearing your Myles Garrett shirt. How are you feeling about week one for the Browns? I know we haven't gotten to this part of our discussion yet, but while I've got you here, what are you feeling about this week, considering the fact that the Browns haven't had their full offensive complement out on the field all preseason? We really don't know what we're going to be watching.
Yeah, I think that the third preseason game was, I think, the closest we have to what we may see this Sunday.
Right. And I mean, they played a little bit better offensively, although we don't know if Seattle was going all out on their part. It seemed like, and I think that there was some discussion here today with Coach Stefanski. They even talked to Deshaun Watson with the press, asking him like, look, nobody's seen everybody out there, and nobody has seen the offense and such. And I think they asked him about, okay, they said to Kevin, and I don't have the audio for this. So yes, a big L coming. Thank you, Factory of Sadness. See, you should have gotten the naming rights to the new stadium, sir, and you should have bought it for $50 gazillion, and it could have always been for the next 20 years Factory of Sadness. I think that is what should have happened. But they ask Kevin, and they say there's zero film anywhere on this offense. Do you consider that an advantage, right? So here's his answer. I think it goes back to the previous point about their defense. And this is true of a lot of teams, a lot of different sides of the ball in the NFL. Week one is a feeling out period, certainly as you see a new scheme on tape. Now we go into it thinking certain things about how we're going to play. I know they're doing the same, but exactly how it all looks in week one, I think this is an unknown. I don't think he said anything. I just read that, and he said absolutely nothing. I mean, what?
I don't know. I think I think what the mindset for a lot of coaches is, which is that, hey, if we like let this out more to the public, then there's gonna be film on us. People are gonna game plan and give them an advantage. When it's only gonna take 2 weeks for that to happen in the season, you maybe get an advantage, a slight advantage for 2 weeks.
Right. And I think we're trying to get here still to get John back on. John, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can. Mike, I'm going to unmute you. Oh, no, it dropped in the background. Come on.
Okay. Well, this is Linda's eye. Here, never mind.
All right, we're good. We are good. Mike, thank you for working on the technical difficulties. John, my son Jacob has joined us here, and here we go. And
Jacob,
Mike,
how are you, bud?
We were
Here,
just
I'm getting
discussing
Linda her phone back. Get rid of commotion.
All right.
It's all good. All right.
Back in the game. Just call me the IT specialist.
You are the
From
IT.
afar.
We were just discussing Kevin Stefanski and his press, and they were talking about the offense and what we might see. And Factory of Sadness has chimed in. Stupid Fansky is the king of saying nothing and making no sense. Because I honestly have no idea what he was saying. But two-time coach of the year, and he says nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. All right, John, you're back with us. Fantastic.
Yeah, we're back.
Excellent. Mike, fire
All
away.
right. So, yeah, the first question I think that, and it was a really good one that Ethan asked was, was what you've seen changed. And you said, I think two things. The players have gotten a lot bigger and stronger. And I'm guessing that's just how the game's probably professionalized. And the second was the complexity of the game. But I do remember you telling me that you ran, you kind of seemed like you tailored your game, how you called it, to the players you had. And I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, but you ran like the triple option a lot because that's just the players you had. Now, was that unique at the time to run something like that? You see it more now in college sports, but I don't know. Was that common back in the 80s?
You know, it's the offense we ran when I was in high school at Skyline. Ethan was talking about the wing T, and I bet there's not too many people who know what the heck wing T is. The first high school game I played against Denver West ran the wing T.
Wow.
And it's complicated for defense, but it's pretty simple for offense. And that's the same thing with Wishbone. We were blessed, great kids, smart kids, and I think that's one reason the Wishbone's successful is you have bright kids, and sometimes that can make up for maybe a lack of athleticism. We were fortunate; we had both. We had athletes and smart kids. Had a quarterback who did the true triple read, would read the fullback and the tackle, which a lot of high school offenses say they run the triple, but they don't do that read, that first mesh. And we did. Watched a lot of film of Air Force, Oklahoma, CU at the time ran the Wishbone, and learned from them, and that's kind of developed into the you don't see the true triple anymore with fullback, two halfbacks behind the quarterback. You see a lot of the halfbacks kind of in a slot position, a lot of motion, a lot of fancy foo-foo stuff, as I call it. The true triple you don't see very often anymore.
So was that is that something you grew up knowing how to do, or you just saw your team and said, I think you guys will be good at this. Let's learn how to do it together.
Yeah, again, Mike, in high school at Skyline, junior and senior year, Coach Hybe ran the Wishbone. I played outside linebacker in high school, and I was backup tight end, so I didn't get a lot of reps on offense. But I knew about it. And then at McPherson College, you were exposed to a lot of things, different formations from teams. When we went to Central, we were blessed with 4 really good running backs and a smart quarterback, average line. Receivers were small, feisty, probably better blockers than receivers. So it seemed at the time that with the talent we had, the Wishbone was the way to go.
And one thing that's always stuck with me too is that team you had back then seems like you guys have had anniversaries. You've stayed in contact with some of those guys. I don't know. I was wondering if you could just talk about the bonding of something like a championship season can give you as a coach and a team and the players.
Yeah, Mike, I always said the good Lord blessed me with three incredible daughters that I love with all my being. They're the pride of my life, but the good Lord also put 28 young men in my life, and it is a unique bond. It's something that you share and you always will share. Not a lot of people get that opportunity, and we had 28 kids on that '87 team, and I sent a text to 7 of them today saying, "Hey, this is going to happen tonight. I'm going to brag about you," and keep in contact with a lot of the kids. But it was quite a year. It was something that just was.
Mhm.
In '86, my first year coach in high school, I took over a group of kids that really didn't believe in themselves. They had the talent. They just needed someone to believe in them and show them what commitment was and basically change the culture. And in '86, we had a theme motto, which was commitment to excellence. And it was just changing the attitude of the kids that they could believe. And they bought into it. We lost the first 2 games. I believe the first game we lost 20-15. We lost the second game 6-2, but then we went on a 7-0 streak, made the playoffs the first time since '67. And then in '87, the motto was simple, was the quest. We were going to be the best. And it was just built on 12 games, 12 individual quests to be the best they could be, to work to be the best. And it all worked. And all said and done, Central Raiders were 12-0, 3A state champs, only undefeated 11-man team in the state, #1 rushing team in the history of Kansas football. We were the smallest. We were actually bumped up in '86. We were 2A, and in '87, because we were 2 kids over the cutoff, we were the smallest 3A team in the state. So every team we played had a bigger enrollment than we did, but they didn't have a better group of kids.
Was it harder to do the X's and O's and game planning, or harder to motivate and be, that type of coach? Because coaching is 2 things. One, you're actually doing the game planning and the tacticalness of it, and then the other part is you're just a motivator and you got to be a leader for the boys. I guess one, what was harder, and which side did you enjoy more?
I enjoyed it all. I was 25 years old in '87, so I was pretty close to the age of some of my kids, and I wasn't that far removed from playing, so I knew what I was asking them to do. So motivation was just putting it out there, saying, "Guys, if you want it, here it is. Follow us, and we'll do it." And they bought into it wholeheartedly. They wanted to win. They wanted to be successful. They made incredible sacrifices to be the best. And that's what it takes. You could have a team that 50% of them are wanting it and willing to make the sacrifice, but the other 50 want to tag along. And these 28 kids from #1 to number 28, they all bought into what we were doing. They all worked to the best of their ability, worked as hard as they could, and my job was easy. I just made sure they showed up to the game.
So I can tell. I think we all can tell you have a lot of the passion for it. Passion for the game and for the kids. Recently there's more talk about the safety of football with, there's guardian caps, and they're talking about, wait till high school to play tackle football so you don't have as many concussions and stuff. But there's a lot of benefits to football as well. And I think you kind of mentioned them, the camaraderie, the teamwork. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the risk and reward of playing football, especially high school football.
You bet. I consider myself fortunate in a sense. I played, and I was injured, so I've ran the gamut. and Mike, you know this, we've talked about it many times. Football doesn't identify me, but football has provided so much to me, and I accomplished what I did because of football. Other than my parents, the coaches in my life probably had one of the biggest influences. They taught me how to succeed. They taught me how to work. They taught me commitment. They taught me being a part of a group. And those are things that I carried with me, in my family life and in my career.
Mhm.
In high school, I shattered a couple fingers. I broke a nose, tore ligaments in my ankle. And then at college, my junior year, I tore my ACL. I blew my ACL. I had to have reconstructive surgery. Lost my scholarship, but they gave me the opportunity. McPherson gave me the opportunity to be the defensive line coach there for 2 years, which, I wasn't going to pro. That was not my aspiration. My aspiration when I went to McPherson College was just to play a game I loved more. And so to get the opportunity to coach, was huge. Coach Cripe gave me the opportunity to recruit, to break down film, to scout, to be a teacher, a mentor to the young men that were there. So, and by coaching at McPherson College, I met Linda, who most important thing in my life. So from there, went to teaching, and I'm sure my 2 years coaching at McPherson got me my first teaching job, and the success we had at Central, got me my first administrative job. So it did, and even the injury, I would do it all over again. If I had sons that wanted to play football, I think what I would let them know, there are risks involved, just like with anything else. As a parent, I would do my due diligence to know the coaches, know their philosophy. I'd want my kids to play for a coach that cares about them, not so much about himself. That's there for the kids, for the program, not to make a name for himself. I remember my folks when I had physicals in high school, we went to our family doctor and had a physical, had blood work, had the whole thing. Whereas in college, we the team doctor was known as Cold Hands Price, and you know why.
Oh my! Hey now.
Yeah. You went in, they checked your heart rate, you turned your head and coughed, and they said you're okay to play. I think there are some underlying conditions that kids have that might contribute to some of this, and I think there are coaches that think they're Vince Lombardi.
Mhm.
I think that's why it's important to know your coach and know your program, what it's about. Talk to parents who have kids in the program. I wouldn't discourage, if I had sons, I wouldn't discourage them at all from football. Because what it provided for me.
Yeah, I do know with your two grandsons that are playing flag football, they need all the coaching help they can get from their grandfather, because they're not getting a lot from me, because I don't understand the game the way you do. So they always appreciate it when you come and help them with their flag football games.
Go ahead.
And now, I guess, speaking of like watching the games now, and I know this is something Ethan and I talked about before. When you're watching like a pro game now, like you're watching the Broncos, can you see what plays are coming just because you understand the game more now, or do you get more frustrated because you're like, well, I would have made a different call than what Peyton just made there?
Yeah, when I watch the Broncos, I just cry.
So do I.
I you can take the boy out of Colorado, you can't take Colorado out of the boy. So the Broncos are my team. I support them. I love them, but they frustrate me. Pro football, when I watch pro football, everything happens so fast, and those coaches are brilliant. When I watch high school and college, I probably find myself more in a coaching role to say, okay, where's the weakness? If I was coaching against these guys, where would I attack? And I always look at the offensive defensive line. For me, that's where it all starts. If you have a player that may be a little weak or maybe tipping some things, how would I go about exploiting that? So high school and college, I'm probably guilty of coaching from the recliner, but But pro, I just watch in amazement sometimes. I like a good running attack. Always have. You know, with the wishbone. Um, to me, that's good football. This passing game is exciting, high scoring. You know, I think most people get a kick out of that, enjoy that. But give me a good hard nosed rushing attack, good defense. I'm happy.
So, does that mean you're a Nick Chubb fan?
Who does he play for?
Hey-o.
Nick who?
Well, you had to have liked, you know, you talk about the running backs, and certainly during the years of not Mike gosh, why am I blanking on the name of Shanahan? Not Mike, his father, coming in there and leading the Broncos to 2 Super Bowl victories. You know, what he was able to do, and that whole system, even Mike Shanahan, in coaching the 49ers, the way that they are able to take running backs who are good but not great, not necessarily, and make them look so amazing. It's the zone scheme, correct?
Yeah, Ethan, it is, and it was Mike. Mike Shanahan is the father. Kyle's the kid. And
Okay, sorry, getting all mixed up
no,
here.
you're fine. Yeah, I wouldn't
I'm
expect.
showing my age. I'm showing my age, John.
Well, I could take you a lot farther back than that. I mean, you know, you're Denver, even with Elway. You know, they went all the Super Bowls and couldn't get over the hump, and it wasn't until Terrell Davis came in and they had that viable rushing attack, a two-dimension offense, that they became, you know, Super Bowl champs. I mean, I think Elway went to what, three Super Bowls before, and I think one of them was, Mike helped me, the drive, and one of them was the fumble.
Oh, this is and then the other was a blowout in Denver in '89. That was not so good for the Browns. The other ones were at least competitive. And we're still wondering, and I've got on my list of questions here. Are you willing to now admit, watching the film, that Rich Carlis's kick was not in fact good? It was too high. If they had the right video, it did not go within the goalpost.
I have never heard that in my life.
Is this just a Cleveland thing, Mike?
Yeah. Well, I mean, now you see what I have to live with.
I know.
Crazy stuff. I keep telling him it's a one-way hatred.
Cleveland says that the field goal was too high.
Yes.
It's very interesting. I mean, in all seriousness, if you look at the replay and there's not enough cameras and you can't really tell, the ball is very high from at least the one camera angle you can see. And it looks like it's right above one of the posts, one of the goal posts.
Okay.
And so I don't know what the rules were, or if there would have ever been a way that you'd have said, oh, is that actually good or not? And again, we're looking at it from the camera. We weren't there. We're not down on the field. And I'm sure as an official, they're looking up, they see it. Yep, it's good. I mean, they've got nothing else to go on. But it is always interesting to kind of think about these things. Not that that's in our dreams or nightmares.
Was this a game in Colorado or Cleveland?
Yeah, this would have been Rich Carlis in overtime of the drive.
So the drive was in Cleveland.
Yeah. The drive was in Cleveland, the fumble at Mile High. Were you disappointed? You know what? Here's a good question for you. That'll bring us back, because you kind of got to experience football when you were growing up, going to Mile High Stadium. Did you have like just a great memory relationship with Mile High? Did it pain you when they built the new stadium? Because that's a big hot topic in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. The old Mile High, you know, the wood bleachers, you could get that thing rocking.
Right.
Yeah, it was, and you know, AAA Denver Bears used to play baseball there, and they would roll a section of the stadium back for the baseball field. Yeah, in fact, the girls, Linda and Nikki, Kels, and Kate. No, I don't think Kels went. I think she had tennis at. But we saw the last game in Mile High was a flag football game.
Oh, wow.
Between some of the old Bronco legends and some of the NFL legends was the last organized game played there. And yeah, it is, you know, you do have those emotional ties. I'm sure you and Mike have it with Cleveland Stadium, and to move it out Yeah, it's not the new Mile High is not the same.
Right, right. And so it's just very interesting how things all evolve. And we like to hang on to our past. It's tough to change. And so along those lines, you talked about we were talking about the high school football and what you would do as a parent. You know, Jacob, he's a freshman in high school. And Jacob, what was your first impression? We went to his school's game last week on Thursday. And the week before school, we were getting emails from the football coach saying, "Hey, we'd love to have more people come out for the team." No, I think it said like no cuts, whatever it is. I counted. I think they had about 40 on the roster. But Jacob, what were your first impressions of the team?
They were not that good.
Right. Well,
How do you really feel about that?
But the thing was, it's like we were wondering, why are there so few kids coming out for the football team? Is it a safety thing? Is it that a lot of kids today are involved in so many sports that they don't just concentrate on the one sport, especially in a physical one like football, where there's maybe, in theory, more potential for certain injuries than if you're playing pickleball or something, or high school badminton. I don't know.
Ethan, that's interesting. I think kids are busy, and I think that has something to do with it. I think some kids have to work.
Yeah.
I have my feelings. I know the year after we won state,
Mhm.
we had 28 kids out for state, which was small for a team, for a squad. That was JV varsity. I mean, we had 28 kids. We had 28 football players.
How many were playing both ways?
How come?
I said, how many of your players were playing both ways?
I think every one of them. I think I may have been able to go 12 or 13 deep. I'm pretty sure our quarterback played safety.
Oh my goodness! You get him injured in the middle of the game, that could be a problem.
Yeah. But after the next year,
Mhm.
I think we had 24 kids come out.
Wow! Even after winning state?
After winning state, yeah. And I can tell you, there are kids that didn't want to pay the price. They knew how hard those kids worked to be successful, and some of them didn't want to. So we took the 24 that came out, and we put together. I think we were 7-1 that year. We had a 20-game win streak between those 2 years.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
yeah, and it was all the kids' hard work, and I think that has. I mean, it's a lot of work to play football.
Right. And now maybe because I don't know this firsthand, but are high schools and colleges, still training the same way that they did back in the day? As if you may have heard Mike and I talking about, back in the day, it was 2-a-days. And you busted your butt, in those weeks leading up to the first week of the season. Do you know by any chance if high schools are still doing that?
I know I've been retired for 7 years, so I haven't been around high school for 7 years. But I know when I retired as superintendent, our school was still doing 2-a-days.
Okay.
They've implemented here in Kansas the Activity Association. You had to have, I believe, 5 or 7 practices without pads.
Okay.
And so safety, get the kids in shape, get them conditioned, get them used to the climate, and then you could put them in pads and go from there. But 2-a-days for us. I mean, I remember high school playing. We'd walk out the locker room, and we had a manager there with a cup of salt tablets. And you guys probably don't know what they were. Just big old horse pills, just salt. And that was replenished, with hydration. And then I'm pretty sure. I mean, my players may tell you differently. I think we gave them water breaks at Central. My college coach, Dave Kripe, played Miami of Ohio for Bill Mallory.
Oh, I know that name.
old school. And
Right.
Cripe used to tell us for their water breaks, they had to take their ear pads out of their helmet and squeeze it, and that was their
Oh,
hydration. Yeah, now Cripe, he was a little bit of a madman, but we weren't that bad. And I know Kansas Athletic Association requires hydration breaks, water breaks. If the heat index is over a certain thing, they can't practice. So there's
that,
safety there. But 2 days, you know, you get a lot accomplished during 2 days. That's when we changed the culture at Central, because the boys saw it as conditioning, but what the coaches were really trying to do is prove to those guys you can do more than you think. And it became one of those things. Okay, we're going to do 4 grinders today, and tomorrow we're going to do 5. And by the end of 2 days, they were doing 9 or 10 grinders, and they would have never thought possible. So it was convincing them your body can do a lot more than you think. You just have to believe in it.
right.
And so we would condition in the morning, and then in the afternoon or evening, we would do our football drills and implement our offense and defense.
Yeah, it definitely toughens you up. Kind of a mind over matter thing. I suppose. And do you think, as you talked about with some of the rule changes about non-padded practices, and we talk about this as Browns fans, we go through the whole training camp and sit here having a deep dive as to who's practicing and who's not practicing, and who's playing in preseason and who's not. But do you think that has, in a way, has it lent itself to players maybe not being as tough as they once were, and possibly more injuries, just not ready for that physicality or kind of built up for it?
Ethan, I think, yeah, yes and no. I think, during off season, you're leaving these guys to do their own thing, to do their own conditioning. It used to be back in the days, they were all in the building lifting together. You had the strength coach. Fortunate to live next door in Larned to Clark Redding, whose brother Dave Redding was a strength coach with Marty Schottenheimer. So he was there at Cleveland when Marty was there. He went to San Diego. He was with Washington. I visited with Dave many times. Fascinating individual. Was on Boyd Epley's staff in Nebraska when Nebraska was having all this success. And I'll piss off some Nebraska fans, but during the steroid days, it's amazing how they lost some of their significance when they started testing. But anyway, Dave said those kids, if they weren't in the weight room with him, they had no idea what they were doing. So I think you take them out of the watchful eye of your coaches. You don't know what they're doing. You're giving these kids $15-20 million. Yeah, I think I think television has hurt the game, because I think they lose that passion.
And how much I heard an argument, John, that teams or schools like Nebraska have suffered because of moving out of the Big 12 and joining the Big 10, because when they were in the Big 12, parents might have said, "Hey, it's okay, go to Nebraska, because we know even if we're in, a couple states away, we're still close enough. If we're in Texas, you're going to play other Texas teams. We're going to make it to those games." But then, you know, the kids, they're not going to go there or whatever, because now they're in the Big Ten and they're playing schools all over, in the Midwest, and now it's everywhere. But do you think that played a role in some of the change in schools like Nebraska that were so great under Tom Osborne?
Yeah, Ethan. Again, you're getting an underlying theme from me, probably. I think it's greed. These schools, they bolted for money, for
Yep.
TV contracts, for exposure, thinking that that'll help bring in the recruits. I'm a CU fan. I grew up 15 miles from Boulder. Was there when McCartney won or shared his national title with Notre Dame.
Right.
And now you see Deion Sanders, what he's doing, and it's NIL money, it's TV contracts. You see the player porthole, these kids transferring everywhere.
Yeah,
It,
I hear you.
it's greed.
Do we even know what conference CU's in right now?
They are in the Big 12 right now.
Okay, I can't keep them straight anymore. I think the Big 12's got like 18 teams. The Big 10 might have like 22 teams. I don't even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and the Pac-12 has 2.
Yeah, and the Pac-12 has 2, right?
Yeah,
Exactly. Makes no
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense there. So, all right, so kind of, moving along here a little bit forward, as we take a look at this upcoming NFL season, John, um, being a Broncos fan, how do you feel about Bo Nix? Can he be as good as Tim Tebow?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How about Russell Wilson?
Yeah,
No, but what do you think about the rookie starting?
It's what they have. They had Stedham, and
Ugh,
they know what they had with him. They brought in Zach Wilson, uh, low
terrible.
money there, so they know what they have there. So, um, you put him in there and you try to protect him. He seems to be okay dumping the ball off short. That's kind of the coach's MO to dink 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 and then go. Um, Hopefully the running attack will be better this year. I think it's better. I didn't lose any sleep when Wilson left.
Okay, and that brings me to the next question. So, as Browns fans, should we lose any sleep about Russell Wilson taking over in Pittsburgh? That was a terrible quarterback room last year between Kenny Smallhands Pickett, Mason Rudolph. Well, who else was there, Mike? Was Mitch Trubisky there last year? He was terrible too, right?
He was there for a bit. Did they still have Duck, whatever his name was?
I don't know if they had Duck Hodges, but yeah, interestingly, was Russell Wilson, is he really on the decline of his career, or was it more so just it didn't fit, under Nathaniel Hackett and then under Sean Payton, who basically was like, hey, we're not going to give you your own office and your entourage.
Yeah, I think the whole Russell Wilson thing was mishandled from day one. I think he alienated himself, and the organization allowed him to alienate himself from the team, and he just took on the diva role, and I think his talent has diminished. He didn't have a lot of time in Denver. The offensive line didn't give him a lot of protection, but he held the ball a lot. So with Cleveland's defense, I wouldn't worry about Wilson. I'd worry more if Fields got in there. I think Fields can create things with his legs that Wilson can't.
Now, looking back, who made the worst trade? The Broncos for Wilson or the Browns for Watson?
An age-old question.
Watson hadn't done anything yet. I think, I take that back. I think Watson was an upgrade from what Cleveland had at quarterback. I think the big mistake was giving him all that money guaranteed. I think that's changed the whole negotiation scheme for everybody. Guarantee the whole contract.
Yeah, and what they have been doing is every year they restructure it where they make his annual salary a signing bonus and his base salary is only about $1 million, which frees up. I think the Browns actually have the most cap space of anybody now because they just restructured Watson again, which freed up $40 million for them to sign new players this year. But to your point, yeah, my only hope was that it would make it harder for other teams to sign their quarterbacks.
Well, and everyone wants totally guaranteed now. I mean, you go in the negotiation with the GM, they're going to say, "Hey, we want this guaranteed," and the GM says not going to do it. And they say, "Well, we're not going to play." And
yeah, we saw that with the wide receivers. A lot of the wide receivers this summer.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, stupid money.
Ayuk, yep.
Yeah, it's always fun to see those guys who sign those major contracts to see what type of year they have.
Yeah.
It raises a very good question that I think we as fans often see. Do you reward the player on past performance, or or do you reward them on potential? And it's a very fine line.
Yeah, you look at San Francisco, they gave stupid money to Ayuk, and
Right.
They signed their tackle today. But
Yep.
here you have Brock Purdy, who has outperformed his rookie contract.
Yeah, and he's not sitting out. He's not demanding more money. He's
No,
just
and
playing for what he signed for.
you got to respect that, but I
Yeah.
also see the point, hey, I signed this 5-year contract. You're cutting me after 3 years.
Right.
Well,
You
I
know,
mean,
so
it is a contract though. They know what they're signing up for.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
that's where, yeah, Mike, that's where Deshaun, Watson in his defense nailed it for him. Hey, you're gonna give me 50 million over X amount of years. Oh, okay.
Right, because John, I'm sure you may have watched this not as closely as us, but originally we were told on like a Thursday, he's out. Watson is out. Cleveland is out. Not coming. The thought was he was going to go to Atlanta. Then all of a sudden, he's signing in Cleveland because Haslam has the money. And it's very interesting as we watch other teams like the Bengals who don't have an owner that has all the liquid funds, the cash to like the Haslams do, or even the Walton family in Denver to be able to just say, okay, I'm going to convert your salary into a signing bonus, and I can just give you all this money. It's really crazy how this all, things all change. But I think that the league has fought back. Mike, would you agree? As we saw kind of with Lamar Jackson was the best, I guess, example of someone who next in line wanted a guaranteed contract, and ultimately nobody would give it to him.
Yeah, for now, I still think the players probably have more leverage than the owners right now, and we just saw that this summer with all the receivers that held out, and they got rewarded with new contracts. And you don't see them giving up money when they have a bad year after they've signed for all that money.
Well, that just wouldn't be allowed. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's that, like you said, it's a two-way street. A contract, you win some, you lose some, and I guess that's why GMs are getting hired and fired all the time. Because if they make the bad signings and it doesn't pan out, they're going to be in a pickle at one point or another. So, John, we're kind of taking a look here as we get ready for week 1 of the NFL season. I know you gave Mike your picks here, and Mike and Jacob, we picked the Browns schedule when it came out in May. And Mike, you went a conservative 9-8. I came in a little bit better at 11-6. Jacob, you were ultra optimistic. You're still young, and you went 12-5. So I wanted to, now that we've seen preseason, we've seen what some of the other teams, some of the other opponents have done. Mike, where do you land on your revised record prediction?
I'm sticking with 9-8.
You're sticking with
Nice,
9-8.
nice and conservative and disappointing, just like every year with the Browns.
Oh, very good, like vanilla, right? Jacob, has your opinion changed in one way or another? Have you looked at the schedule and seen what the Browns did and said, "Oh man, I think this game that I thought maybe they were going to win, not going to happen"? Do you have any change to your prediction of 12-5?
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think much has happened, like within the space of who they're playing and themselves, obviously, to really change anything.
Okay, and that's fair. I think that for the Browns, the biggest thing, is what are we going to see out of Watson? What's the offense going to look like? And will they be able to clean up this left tackle situation? And also, in as much as the offense is going to change, how's the running game going to change? I, after I guess my negativity got the best of me, and I have readjusted my schedule results to move into Mike territory at 9-8. And hopefully, I am pleasantly surprised. I think that week 1 is going to be very difficult for the Browns taking on the Cowboys, albeit at home where they went 8-1 last year. Dallas, despite their playoff disappointment, getting spanked at home by Green Bay, another terrible loss. They've been pretty good in the regular season. John, do you have an overall prediction of what you think Denver might be this season under all the circumstances?
For Cleveland?
No, for Denver.
Mike said 9-8. I'll go 10-7.
Okay, you think Denver's
Oh.
all right,
Yeah.
all right. Hey, that's confidence. I like it. I've got none of that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And, well,
Yeah.
Mike, you have done a wonderful job of putting together a graphic here, and I would think, let's go through our week 1 NFL picks, shall we?
Yeah, let me see if I can get this to work.
All right, and hopefully
And
get this out here. So John, now
I'm gonna pop out and come back in.
you're gonna pop out and come back in. Okay, so John, let's see. Have you tried, or have you been? I guess you got we're a Rockies fan. Okay, let me see if Mike's back on here. Hold on a second. I'm trying to do too many things at once, and this multitasking is very difficult. Okay, Mike, are you there?
Okay. Yep. It looks like I'm having some issues. My IT knowledge, I think, has been exhausted, and I'm having trouble sharing the screen for some reason.
Okay, you see the put it in H. Put it in H.
I know. It says unable to share screen. Screen sharing not allowed.
Okay, well, you know what? Then we'll do it. I know it's not because you were so kind as to put this together. And again, I know this will not be the graphic portion of it will not be as fancy. I will, however, share this. Assuming I can get this to work. There we go. All right, so let's go through the week 1 NFL schedule here. Share it. Okay, so let me get back to the beginning here. All right, so our week 1 picks here between the 4 of us, and John, appreciate your contributions here.
Anytime.
All right, so for the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs to kick off the NFL season tomorrow night, we are split. John, you're going with the Ravens. And Mike, you're going with the Ravens. But John, I'd like to know what makes you feel like Baltimore will take down the defending Super Bowl champions.
I think King Henry in a Raven jersey next to Lamar Jackson might be too much for the Chiefs.
And Mike, what about you? What makes you think Baltimore is going to win?
I agree, and this is a home game for Baltimore too, isn't it?
No, it is not. It is a Kansas
City away
game.
Kansas City.
Okay. All right. Well, it'll be a little closer than I thought, though. But I'm still going with Baltimore because Kansas City just seems to get better as the season goes on. So This would be the time for Baltimore to actually take him down.
Right. Last year, certainly, Kansas City was shocked at home by Detroit, and little did we know how close Detroit was going to be to going to the Super Bowl. All right. Next up in the matchups, the Green Bay Philadelphia matchup. And again, we are split here. Jacob, you and I went with the Eagles. John, Mike, you went with the Packers. Jacob, do you think that the Eagles are going to be able to fly Eagle fly once again, or will they show their terrible form that they had to end last season?
I think they're gonna be better. They improved the running game, brought in Saquon Barkley. Think that was a huge addition to definitely help them.
And it's more the tush push, right?
I think they're actually gonna run the ball with Saquon.
Will Nick Sirianni be crying on the sidelines?
Only if the national anthem is playing.
Okay. It will be very interesting, John, Mike, to see what Jordan Love does, as he just got a huge contract, and I'm not sold on him quite yet.
Yeah, I think it was premature. I think you put Josh Jacobs in the backfield as a neat dimension. We'll see.
Right. Okay, moving on to the next matchup, the Falcons and the Steelers. Jacob, you're the outlier here. Mike, John, myself, we all went with the Falcons. Jacob, you're trusting Russell Wilson?
I'm not trusting Russell Wilson, as I'm more trusting the Steelers defense to hold down a more pieced together offense. Kirk Cousins, he just got here this season. So I think it's going to be a little more rocky start for the Falcons offense, and the Steelers have a great defense, and they added to it. They got Patrick Queen, and I think that the Steelers offense will do enough.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, new coach down there in Atlanta, Raheem Morris, taking over for was it Arthur Smith? He didn't do so well, but Kirk Cousins is definitely an upgrade at the quarterback position. He's definitely got some weapons there between Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. So we shall see if Atlanta can improve enough. And they've got that NFC South is horrible, so certainly they've got a chance there. Next matchup on the board, the Bills and the Cardinals. I think this was a clean sweep. Yeah. Circle the wagons here. I don't think Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray are going to be necessarily enough of an instant success to suddenly turn the Cardinals around against a tough Buffalo opponent. Anybody here with thoughts on the Bills and their outlook?
No, I think nothing needs to be said about that one.
Not much there. Okay. Well, we'll see if Josh Allen can further his game. He has come a long way since his rookie season. But they need more, and they've lost a lot of players, so they've got it tough. The AFC East, although it's between Miami and Buffalo, you've got a real battle there, and certainly New England's not good, and the Jets. And we'll have to see what Aaron Rodgers can do, but they seem rather dysfunctional. Moving on, we've got the Titans and the Bears. And Mike, you went with the Titans. Tell us your logic here.
Rookie quarterback for the Bears. He hasn't proven anything yet, so I'm going to go with the more experienced team.
All right, you're going Will Levis, mayonnaise guy on the hook. Did you buy his cologne yet?
And nor will I ever.
Come on, don't you love that greasy?
It might be a good Christmas gift for a father-in-law, though. We'll see.
Hey-oh. You could slather him up with some bread. You'd be like the Harry Carey thing. Hey, you ever think about being a hot dog? Would you eat yourself? Next up, we've got the Bengals and the Patriots. This should be a clean sweep here. I hear a lot of people on Cleveland radio talking about their Circa Survivor pick, and they're thinking about putting their money on the Bengals to take for their Week 1 selection. And it will be interesting to see if Jamar Chase plays or how long this drama goes on in Baltimore. In Cincinnati. Moving on, next matchup. Now, this is a great game here. The Texans and the Colts. This was a game, a rematch of the finale, the regular season finale last year, which sent the Texans to the playoffs to beat the Browns and the Colts home. And we have all selected the Texans. So nobody here has faith in Anthony Richardson and Shane Steichen as coach?
No, and not that. It's just I think Texans and Colts, when they match up both times this season, it'll be a good close game. But I think for this one, the Texans, they come out with a quicker start than the Colts do.
Right. CJ Stroud, it'll be interesting to see if he is able to continue on the trajectory that he had last season or if there's more film on that. John, when you see a rookie quarterback come out there, his rookie season has success, how hard is it to sustain in the following season when other teams really have a good look?
Yeah, I think you get film on a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And those coaches are good. The quality control, breaking down film, seeing what reads, what defenses they struggled with.
Right.
The one thing for Stroud is he saw a lot last year. So hopefully he can do the same thing, self-evaluate, know where his weaknesses were. But I think more times than not, that sophomore jinx is true. You see these kids struggle because the defensive, adjust and show things and change it up where his reads are confused there for a while.
Yeah, we saw it, Mike. We saw it in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield. He didn't have quite as good of a sophomore season as he did his rookie year. Maybe
Well, Ethan,
that might be Odell's fault.
I would say our quarterbacks have a freshman jinx and a sophomore jinx. And if they last a third year, it would be a junior jinx too. But most of them don't even last that long.
You're right. Yeah, since 1999, it's been a little bit tough. I really feel bad still for Tim Couch. He really got hosed behind that terrible offensive line. Moving on, the Jaguars and the Dolphins. Who do we got here? All of us have picked the Dolphins. They've been very good in the early season. I expect them to continue that. Tua has he's kind of really turned into something. There were questions about him, questions about his health, the concussions early on, and he has done a fantastic job. And Tyreek Hill, wow, they've got a formidable offense there. The question is, what will they do in December if they have to play in cold weather in the playoffs, like they did in Kansas City? And will they have the mental fortitude? How much advantage is that weather and an atmosphere, John, being a Broncos fan?
Well, Denver has the Mile High
Right.
as a big trump, and the cold weather in Kansas City
Yes.
probably hurt Miami. I don't think the Chiefs like playing in it either. I think cold weather affects everybody. But those southern teams coming in, or dome teams coming in to play in that type of weather, it has an impact.
Right. Yeah. And last year you got to see a frozen mustache on Andy Reid. That was snot nice.
No. They had their the first home game, preseason game, had a high heat index. They said the difference between the preseason game and the last playoff game, temperature wise, was 114 degrees.
Oh my goodness. That's I'm sick just hearing that.
Yeah. The wind chill and the heat index. Amazing.
Wow. All right. So now the Panthers, second year for Bryce Young, they're kicking themselves because they didn't take CJ Stroud, taking on the Aints. And let's see who we've got here. All of us clean sweep for the Saints. I don't think they're great, but I think they're better than the Panthers. Next up, the Giants and the Vikings. John, you're the lone wolf here, going with the Giants. What makes you think that Danny Dimes and the New York Football Giants will succeed over probably Sam Darnold and the Vikings?
I think that's it, Darnold. I don't have any confidence in him.
Yeah. See, if you look back at that draft class, guys, Mike, for us, Jacob, and there was that debate. Do you take Darnold? Do you take Mayfield? And we didn't do great, but Mayfield was the better choice than Darnold.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Chargers and the Raiders. And we are all looking here for Captain Khaki to lead the Chargers to a week 1 victory over the Raiders and their terrible quarterback room. Who'd they settle with? Minshew Magic?
Yes, I'm pretty sure they did settle with Minshew Magic.
That's terrible. And may Jim Harbaugh not be caught on the sidelines picking his nose like he was at Michigan, and Sharon Moore got caught doing the same. Next up, we have your Denver Broncos taking on Geno Smith and the Seahawks. Now, John, you've gone out here on a limb. You're going with your Broncos over the Seahawks. All right. Is this just a gut feeling? Is this a hope of all hopes? What makes you believe that the Broncos are going to get over on the Seahawks?
Oh, they're Super Bowl bound this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah.
You gotta love the confidence.
I can't believe you guys doubt it.
And this is why John and I haven't been to Vegas together yet.
But we did go to the Philippines, to Manila, Mike.
That is true. To some good casinos there.
Was it a thriller? Was it a thriller though?
Oh, it was. It was. We destroyed it.
Nice. At the craps tables, blackjack.
Roulette.
Oh, very nice.
No sports betting though.
Yeah.
Oh, no, absolutely not. That'd be illegal.
Yeah. All right. Now we get to the last 4 games of week 1, the Cowboys and the Browns. And I am the odd man
Yeah.
out here.
So I think we need to ask you, Ethan, what changed your mind on this game?
All right. After I really, really weighed this and had the change of heart when I started looking at what I haven't seen. And that's the problem. I don't know what to expect. I know that that can kind of lend itself as a positive since Dallas doesn't have anything on film other than probably watching um, what Ken Dorsey did with Josh Allen in Buffalo and other places, like when he worked with Cam Newton and such. But I just have this terrible gut feeling about it. I'd like to think that I could get past this at some point in my life, but I've been scarred enough. Dwayne Rudd
So
throwing his helmet, yeah,
so
Hey,
Jacob,
look,
two
you'll be
questions.
fine after a Super Bowl win this year, all right?
I love the confidence. Jake, you're gonna have to pick me up off the floor when that happens.
So Jacob, yeah, two questions. One, do you have to disown your dad now? And two, why do you think why do you think your dad's wrong and the Browns will win?
So, because I think that Dallas, especially with the loss of Deron Bland for the Cowboys, I think that's a huge loss, and especially now that we have 3 wide receivers that we are confident in, as well as David Njoku and Jerome Ford. He was able to catch the ball last year, not as so much as run it, but he could catch it. Um, so I think with we have plenty of catching weapons, and this the loss of the Ron Bland's huge for the Cowboys.
And also I will add, and this is one advantage I think we have. The Cowboys are starting a rookie left tackle, albeit a first rounder, Tyler Guyton. He's a rookie left tackle going up against Myles Garrett. He's going to draw some attention, and they have a rookie center.
Yeah, but he's a mauler. He's from K-State. He is a bad dude.
Okay, well, we're going to be watching out for that, and hopefully our interior linemen eat him up. I want Mo Hurst to be rubbing his belly like he's a Winnie the
Yeah.
Pooh bear in the honey pot there.
Yeah.
But we shall see.
BB's a bad dude. He's a mauler. He'll
Okay,
be fun to watch.
absolutely. I am liking the K-State transfer to Ohio State, Will Howard. We're going to need him to help lead the Buckeyes to a national championship.
Yeah. Yeah, he good kid.
Very nice. All right, moving on, and this is to my in my locale and Mike's locale. The Commandos taking on the Yuccaneers. No faith in Baker Mayfield at the old sombrero there, Mike.
Yeah, no faith, and why not? I got to go for the new adopted hometown right now. No other reason than that.
That's terrible. That is a terrible. No, it'll be interesting to see what Jaden Daniels can do. He wasn't the first quarterback pick, but he's got a skill set, and hopefully he can help bring Washington back to some respect. Moving on, the Lions and the Rams, the Goff versus Stafford showdown here. Lions within minutes, of making it to the Super Bowl, their first ever, fell to the 49ers in the NFC Championship. All of us have gone with the kneecap biting Detroit Lions. And finally, dumpster fire versus San Francisco. On the Monday night finale of week 1, we have all gone with the San Francisco 49ers. Can the 49ers make it back to another Super Bowl? And can they finally get over the hump? Unless they're playing the Browns or the Broncos.
Exactly, yeah. All right. What's the bets on Aaron Rodgers Achilles tear?
Oh, that's a terrible thing to say. Jacob, come on, man. We can't be wishing injury on anybody, but
I'm not wishing injury. I'm just saying.
are you saying he's too old? Are you saying he's
Yes,
too old?
yes, he's too old.
Jacob, I think you need to be more concerned about him having to go hide out in a dark cave for 3 weeks.
he, might, he may very well have to do that. I have heard that there's a lot of dysfunction there and griping between him and Garrett Wilson. I mean, go figure. And Robert Saleh, oy vey. Yeah, that's not so good there. So there are our week 1 picks for the NFL season. And I'm going to stop sharing that. And we are back. All right, folks. Well, I think that's going to do it here for tonight's episode. John, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And Mike, for getting on through on the IT side of things. This is fantastic. Really appreciate it all. And John, we will have you back. Specifically, we are going to have you back. We're going to try and bring in, let's see, we're going to bring you in as a Denver fan. I'm gonna work on getting Jose Davis back in, Mike, who grew up a Denver fan, John Elway fan, even though he grew up on the border of Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. He was a John Elway fan, so we might have to bring him in to support you there. And I think I've got one Colorado friend who lives in Colorado, but is a big Browns fan, and we might have to bring in to help round it out here. So John, thank you very much.
Hey, you bet. And I want to, Mike, is there something in that bookcase back there? Is there a John Elway rookie card in there somewhere?
Oh no.
For a Cleveland fan to have this is
so I do. Yeah, this was a gift when I was first dating his daughter. So how could I say no? But yes,
you know what?
John Elway.
That's the seal of approval right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must like this kid.
Whole new respect for you, buddy.
Well, we do got to figure out what the bet's going to be this year, because I don't know. We might have to up it. I don't know if a tie is going to do it this time.
Yeah, Mike, you might have to shave 3 times during the game, like a la Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Well, Mike, we'll just make that bet down in the whiskey house, and I'm sure something will come up.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Okay, hey,
well, John, thank you very much for being on. Jacob, thank you for joining us. Mike, thank you as always. And that is going to do